Michigan Airbnb investing. Is it dead? Is it too late? With interest rates ticking up, short-term rental saturation creeping in, and regulations getting really ugly, you're seeing a lot of investors are getting a little timid and they're backing out. And just like all those investors, I am not doing that. I am doubling down. But why? Because Michigan has some of the most underrated short-term rental opportunities in the entire country, for real. And today I'm going to show you exactly what works and what doesn't, and what to avoid so you can make sure you're making money with Airbnb here in Michigan. I know this firsthand because I scaled my Airbnb portfolio from a $30,000 initial investment all the way into a $10 million portfolio that's generating 7 figures. I've tested all the different markets, all the different houses, all the different strategies, and I know what separates the winning Airbnbs from the losers. A lot of the properties that are already on the market, it's kind of crap. It's just grandma's cabin. It's all hand-me-down furniture. Looks like a used college dorm room, and nobody really wants to stay on those stained sheets. I'm sorry, it is what it is. It's kind of trashy. The actual quality of all of these Airbnbs is absolutely heating up, and I think you need to pay attention to that. But it's not heating up at the rate that it used to in terms of the actual quantity. It's a quantity change, not a quality change. Overall, I think the actual numbers are kind of dwindling, at least all the saturated kind of lower end properties, which is giving an opportunity for all the new ones that are really bullish to come up and really capitalize. The ones that aren't working, they're in the wrong location, have 0 unique features, selling at a discount and saying Airbnb just doesn't work anymore. I don't know what's going on. But the ones that are smart and actually creating success every time they start a new Airbnb are the ones that go, I'm going to improve. I'm going to be relentless about that pursuit of excellence. I'm going to make sure that I'm always looking at my property and going, how could I do this better? Those people are the real competition. And if you're not matching them, you will be losing to them. So what's the key? Think about when Airbnb first came on the scene. Now, short-term rentals existed. They were just kind of random weekly rentals that you knew about on the lake and you'd go out with your family and check out. But then this platform called Airbnb came out, and people started going, hey, I can market all kinds of unique experiences on here. So it kept getting more refined, more fun, more interesting, more quality. And that's exactly what has happened from start to finish. Airbnb, when it arrived on the scene, provided an opportunity that was not currently present. Really great prices for a literal blow-up bed in a living room in San Francisco. And as it evolved, cool things started coming from it that were very unique and completely different and more comfortable than a hotel because you have a house. Sometimes you have a mansion to yourself, and it was a very cool experience. So that's what we have to keep focusing on as we continue to progress in this market that still has plenty of runway left. So what do you need to do? You need to stop buying the same property everybody else bought. You need to buy the thing that's special or make it so unique that most people won't even dare to create the same thing you're gonna do. Think about it like this. Create an asset that does not exist in the market. And you know what that also means? That asset does not exist in the market. There will not be data in that market to support that asset that is now going to exist. So it does take a higher level of risk and commitment, but typically when you're doing something above average, once you find out what that kind of threshold floor is, like, okay, most properties are gonna do 40, 50,000. If you find out most of these properties around here are doing 50, maybe the properties like this are doing around 80, and the really special ones are doing 100. If you can exceed the factors that are even more special than what the $100,000 earners are, that's when you get to do the properties that some of us are making. The 200s, the 250s, and even the $400,000 earning properties that now exist here in Michigan. That's right, we have $400,000 earning properties. That's right, I used to think there's no way I would even see 200, but we got there. I thought maybe not even 250, but we got there. 300, and now we're seeing north of 400. We might even see 450. It could be on its way right now. It might already be present. We just don't have the data to show it. And that owner's probably sitting very quietly on the side going, I hope they never figure it out. So what are the best Airbnbs? They are 3 things. Experience driven, uniquely positioned, and built to stand out. I own multiple properties in Michigan, and let me tell you, the ones that actually stand out and make a lot of money, they're not the downtown condos. They're not the cookie cutter homes. They're not the 3-bed, 1-bath cabins on the lake. Whether it's the log cabin in Munising in the Upper Peninsula, the lake house in Traverse City, or a cozy A-frame in Mears, people book Airbnbs to experience something special, something they can't get where? At home. So don't make it look like a home. When you're a normal house flipper in the metro area of any big city and you're doing all these very normal finishes that are kind of forgettable, it's not gonna work. I mean, it can work, but it's not enough. You need to be willing to push that envelope to create something that people go, holy crap, I would never do that. That's so funky, that's so cool. I gotta stay there. I got to check this place out. Wow, that's gonna be a cool photo for the photo of our family hanging out for that summer getaway that we always do every single year. Wow, we go for our 15-year reunion with our college friends for the skiing and snowboarding trip. I can't wait to be having hot cocoa next to that bonfire pit with those cool chairs. That's the stuff you need to create. You need to create the experiences and memories that people will want to capture and go, man, I would love to go back there. If you can't create that reaction with the property you want to buy, you should probably think twice. I'm talking about the places where people are going to want to sip coffee on the deck while they watch the sunrise right before their morning hike, and they see that beautiful sun crest over the rolling green fields as the dew starts to shine. That's the kind of experience people want. Put another way, we want to prioritize outdoor activities over indoor luxuries. A lot of new hosts waste money on fancy bathrooms and brand new kitchens, and yeah, that was me too. Guess what? Overall, what I've actually found is guests don't really care about it as much as you think. They certainly don't care about a $20,000 marble shower. So what am I telling you? This is a little tip and trick I didn't plan to add, but listen up. The money is better off spent in the kitchen over the bathrooms if you're going to do any rehab, but you're almost better off if you've got solid cabinetry, paint them, put on some new hardware, maybe a new countertop, and call it a day. You don't need to rip and replace all these cabinets unless the layout is garbage or the cabinets are a mediocre material that have definitely seen their last of days. More times than not, as long as the kitchen and the bathroom are clean and functional and generally can serve the purposes they need to, they're fine with it. They'd much rather see the other things that will be special and really call for the photo and the memory that we're trying to create. They care about those outdoor experiences. And in Michigan, that can mean a few things. The hot tub, huge bonus. It's almost like the no-brainer amenity to add anywhere. It extends your booking season all the way through the winter, and trust me, making that winter a little bit smoother is ideal because that seasonal income can really hurt around then. Number 2, a fire pit with the Adirondack chairs. People want that classic Michigan bonfire and s'mores retreat. I certainly do. I don't want to tell you how old I am, but I still love my chocolate, my marshmallows, and my graham crackers. I really just like the marshmallow, if I'm being honest. The rest of it's just kind of messy and crumbly. I don't need that. The marshmallows. I just want to toast my marshmallow. I think you know what I'm talking about. Number 3, if you're on the lake, the private dock with the kayaks. If you're near the water, this is a no-brainer. In the grand scheme, it's a very cheap photo to create. You show a picture of the water, the dock, and the kayak. Maybe you do a lifestyle photo where they're like paddling like this. You're doing great, babe. She's like, shut up, because you're not in sync. That's what I get a lot. That's what people are going for. I love that memory I make every year with my wife. Number 4, oh my God, did I underrate it? And last year we tried it, the barrel sauna. Well, we didn't do a barrel sauna. We did a really nice sauna, but God, when people stayed at a property with the indoor pool, the golf simulator, the hot tub, the fire pit, and the sauna, you know what they all talk about? The sauna. All these other super expensive amenities, and it's the sauna that really was the big hit in the visual marketing as well as the functional enjoyment. Kind of a shocker. Game room too. We even had, golden tea. Golden tea is a good time. And things that we didn't necessarily expect but are now realizing are a must. Having land is a necessity for 2 reasons. It gives you room to add your amenities, and it gives you room from your neighbors, i.e. privacy. It is now a required buy box item for us to consider on all of our properties because we see that when you have that privacy, you have less neighbors being bothered, therefore you're getting bothered less. So definitely consider that when you're buying your next Airbnb. So wrapping this up, spending money on the right outdoor amenities can greatly increase your potential revenue. Sometimes it's not necessarily the amount of dollars that you net on it. It doesn't mean you're going to always 10x from there, but it's the market share you're going to capture above and beyond your competition that will actually be more valuable than doing 10x. Let's say you make 15% more for a combination of 2 or 3 amenities, and you go from, let's just say you're at 100,000 because you had a nice 4-bed, 3-bath with a dock and a deck on the lake. But then you added the sauna and the hot tub, maybe a golf sim. Yeah, I mean, that could be $30,000. But let's say now that you've went from 100 to another 15% more, 115,000, you're making more money, sure. And if you get your money back in 2 years, 15,000 over 2 years is 30,000. There's your 30,000. That's great. But more than anything, if nobody else is willing to commit to that depth of amenity building, you're gonna get a multiplier effect on that, because when, let's say there's only 5 people coming to that lake for that week, and they see your property and 3 properties match that potential group that's gonna stay there, and they see your property's the only one with all those amenities, and you go, this might be the better time and the better price. And even if it's 15% more, I'd rather spend it because look at all the cool stuff that comes with it. That's why you want it. This all goes back to creating the perfect picture for the Instagrammable photo that will surely be part of your marketing package as your listing photo. You guys might be wondering, what are the best markets in Michigan, Matt? Well, the truth is I hate that question. I really do hate that question, because the best market doesn't mean it's the best deal. That's one thing I do want to teach you guys. And additionally, sometimes you see extremely skewed data depending on what resource you are looking at, and it's not really fun to explain to you that it's not quite accurate. Or hey, whatever you saw so far, it's going to be pretty much down to zero in the next year or two because of all the changes and the removal of licenses. So you have to be careful. You have to know which markets are actually going to work for you. And again, there's new ways that we're finding to manage those regulations. We have a great video on that. Definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. I'm going to name a handful that are still going really well, and a lot of people have enjoyed and had profit from, including ourselves. The Traverse City and Leelanau Peninsula. I am talking huge summer and fall attraction. The wineries, the festivals, the beauty, it's just a great place to be. It's a really big up and coming metro area. Traverse City is currently having an expansion to the airport as well. So there's a lot of things going on, and I highly recommend it. Then there's the Upper Peninsula. Marquette, Munising, Houghton, they're all getting a lot of attention, and that's just 3 that I'm gonna name. And trust me, there's about 5 others I'm already thinking about, but I'm not gonna mention them here. Stay tuned. What about the lakefront homes, the ones that are like the well-known lakes that people gotta have a property on? Well, in northern Michigan, a lot of people are always talking about Torch Lake, the chain of lakes, Crystal Lake. There are so many more that are beautiful. I don't know if you know this, but Michigan has over 1,000 inland lakes, and over 100 of them are over 200 acres or bigger. Now, 200 is not huge, but it is a good sized lake. Typically another little pointer is I try to not buy on anything that's less than 100 acres. I think 50 acres is kind of just more like an overgrown pond, and I don't like them that small. That's just how it is. Now, if you find that property that is on a 50-acre lake that is within 10 minutes or right at the base of a mountain for skiing or snowboarding or golfing, maybe we go ahead and call that a lake view that's still valuable, and we have all these other things that make it more seasonal. So that's something to really consider. How about Gaylord, Charlevoix, Arcadia, Petoskey? Great spots, right? You can pretty much get a full 4 seasons out of any of those areas, because you got skiing and snowboarding, you got golfing, you got the fall foliage trips. Sometimes you're right there on a lake. These places have tons of charm and plenty of great places to grab a little bite and just go, man, I'm in a really cool, quaint town, and it's really been a nice vacation. That's what people are looking for. Markets to be cautious of. We should probably talk about those. The 2 biggest metro areas are Metro Detroit, Metro Grand Rapids. Now, Grand Rapids is really tough, and I feel like they need to lighten up. I'm hoping at some point they go, hey, we actually need to do some short-term rental licenses, because right now it's mostly banned, and it's pretty much a bummer because there's so much opportunity there. And even with an event I'm coming up to see very soon in May, I'm going to go there, and I kind of just want to get an Airbnb. I don't really want to stay at the hotel, but most of them are banned. And that's why I think a lot of the Airbnb owners have subpar properties, because they're like, I'm going to get shut down any day anyway. What if they weren't like that? Maybe we'd have even nicer units to rent, and it would be a more quality stay. And maybe the city would see, maybe we should keep these around. As for Detroit, Detroit's been talking about banning it for a while. They haven't. They know they need the money, and they're getting it, and Detroit is expanding beautifully. We've seen a lot of properties pop up over the years, and that demand is being served, but we're still not seeing what I would call the S-tier operators and the S-tier properties that are down there. They are coming. We're getting some A-rank ones, but we could use some S-tier. So if you're looking to play, might be a good spot for you. I do a lot of Metro Detroit, and they have worked out very beautifully. Some I'm keeping, some I'm going to be sizing up to a hotel for, but overall, I'm pretty happy with it. One other notable mention, Ann Arbor. Love Ann Arbor. They have some bans and restrictions, but right now they have map-based zoning. So if you're in the right zone, which is very small areas, you can still make that work, but you got to be very smart about how you use your map zoning, and definitely call in, double check that property with the actual address with the city. And the thing I really want to hit on is just generic, boring suburban homes. Now, you can buy one and you can make it special, and it can work. And that might be very helpful for midterm stays, which are also a furnished rental type. But also note that when you are in those calmer markets, especially when you're butted up neighbor to neighbor, you're gonna have a lot more situations where the neighbors can be easily ticked off. And when they're ticked off, they call the city, and then they're gonna tick you off. And that's just kind of the vicious circle of life. So prepare for that. It doesn't always go that way. There's a lot of ways to avoid that. And I would say in general, between the properties we've owned and managed, it probably only is an issue 10-15% of the time. And of that range, only 8% were actually like really annoying. And beyond that, the ones that actually caused tremendous pain or shutdown, 4%. 4%, pretty much like 3.6, but rounding it up to 4, it's It can be annoying, but again, pretty small margins of risk when you really look at the grand scheme of how many have been successful, especially with the way we do it these days. Let's talk about the property size that makes the most money. There are way too many 3-bed, 2-bath properties out there. 3-1s, forget it. 2-1s, forgettable. They just don't stand out, and how could they? Here's the sweet spot. Go big or intentionally small. The 1-bedroom cabins, the tiny homes, these properties are getting premiums that are unheard of. It's honestly off the charts in terms of how much they can make versus how much they cost to build or put up sometimes. They are perfect for couple getaways. They have extremely low cleaning fees, and god dang do they have high occupancy. Another market niche that has worked for us, especially when we were getting up and coming, is the 4 to 5 bedroom range. Larger bedroom counts typically will bring in good sized families. People who are like, hey, we're getting away, this is where we're staying, it's gonna be great, and we're not getting all these hotel rooms because it's too expensive. Now, if they're gonna drop the money at a hotel and they see your property because it's a great substitute, you're gonna say, I'd rather put it here. So that's when you start making the wins on those types of properties. And then it becomes a factor of how many guests can you actually fit in there. Are you doing double bunk beds in some rooms? Because there's a thought that a lot of people use, more beds and heads. You know, the higher guest count you have, the more money you will command, because there's a lot of ways to charge for that and actually get that net. But again, you know, it's a balancing act. How many people do you want in your house? Because that's going to be more wear and tear as well. Now, the things that I think are going to do the best, it's the exceptionally big properties. I want the 6 to 10 bedroom properties these days. I want 4 to 8 bathrooms in there. I want the big boy. Honestly, I want a 10 bed, 8 bath. I'm really looking for one. Got my eye on a couple. And I think I want to throw a bunch of amenities. I'm going to do like little group getaways, corporate getaways. I think that's where the big money is. But a lot of people aren't willing to take on that risk, especially with single family rental zoning. If you can get commercial zoning, you can probably hedge that risk significantly. And you can pretty much do a true bed and breakfast or a mini hotel. But you know, these are the things you got to consider depending on high risk, high reward, and where you want to land. Let's be dang clear though. If you're buying a 2 or 3 bedroom house, it has to stand out. And I don't typically recommend those at this point, not in these markets. Before you buy, let's avoid these 5 common mistakes that can kill your investment. Forgetting about property taxes, or at least not calculating them correctly. Good God, can they get expensive? Pay attention to that. Look at what that value could be once it's uncapped at purchase. Figure out the millage rate and the state equalized value and figure out how to multiply it. There's actually a Michigan property tax calculator out there that you can look up on Google. Very easy to find. Run those numbers and it will give you a good idea where you stand. If you don't know how to use it, I guess message me. Maybe I'll do a video on it. Point is, those holding costs on property taxes, they don't go anywhere. They typically just go up every single year. And if you don't pay attention to those, it's probably one of the largest holding costs aside from the actual mortgage payment, the actual principal portion. So you got to keep that in mind because it's not going anywhere. Number 2, ignoring seasonality. Michigan's markets are absolutely cyclical. Really, all markets are. And trust me, if you buy in the winter and you're trying to make some money in the winter, it's probably not going to go like that. Typically, the winter is the toughest season of the 4 to make some money unless you have a property that's right there on a skiing or snowboarding hill. Now, if you don't have that, you're probably going to be like the normal properties where you have your lowest quarter earnings in that season. And if you didn't have money or reserves to prepare for that, it could be a very frightening position to be in. However, your summers can be exceptional. Sometimes 40 to 60% of your total income is going to be made just on your summer bookings, 3 months of summer. Number 3, not checking local Airbnb STR zoning and probably even double and triple checking it. Bonus tip, get it in writing. Always get it in writing because if you don't, you won't really have anything to protect you in the event that things change. And sometimes even if you do have it in writing, you could still have some liability. Listen, at the end of the day, investing is always a risk. You got to be reasonable, rational, and get whatever you can to be as protected as possible so you don't end up with egg on your face. 4, skipping the experience factor. Have you not been listening? You can't skip that. It's got to be awesome. It's got to be like, what a great experience. What a great memory. God, I want to go back there. If you can't create that, you probably have no business doing this. You're going to have low bookings. And when you have those low bookings, they're not cash flowing. You're going to hate what you did. Number 5, I hate this one. Overpaying in the hot markets. Yeah, there's a lot of people that they target the hot markets where the appreciation has already maxed out in the area and things are actually deflating. They're actually going down. They can't get any higher because I wouldn't say they were artificially inflated, but they were hyper inflated. And what happens when you blow up a balloon too fast? It pops. So it's not going to pop and go down to 0, but it's going to drop and it will be noticeable. When you lose 10 to 20% of your value over a year or 2, that can hurt. Now, I've seen this happen a lot in the Smokies, and you don't want to be like that. You don't want to be in that situation where, like, crap, you're trying to just pay to keep a property alive before you can cash out and find a buyer that will buy it at a decent price. It's very uncomfortable. And here's another bonus. Make sure the property can do 2 things. It can appreciate as real estate and that the cash flow is likely to continue for 5 to 10 years. If you make sure those two things are checked, you're probably going to be in a great spot. So should you invest in Michigan? Look, Michigan is one of the best places to invest, period. And if you do it right, you're going to be happy about it. And what about the people who fail? They're not going all in on design, marketing, management, triple checking regulations. Those are the people who are getting scolded, and I've been there on all of those. I've been guilty of every single one of those. I think anybody who's built a decent portfolio has said, wow, I should have gone a little harder here or a little bit more focused over there. That's kind of what you do as an entrepreneur, but you're in a room with people that are like us. We're going to help spot check and make sure you're on the right path. And we're also going to do one more thing. We're going to make sure we're not creating the wrong expectations. Because if you don't have the right expectations, it's another way you can get burned. But if you're doing it right, you're going to be very happy again with your choice to invest in Michigan. So if you buy smart, focus on experience-driven stays, and optimize your listings, there is still massive potential here in Michigan. And look, I get it. Investing in Airbnb can feel very overwhelming. That's exactly why I'm opening up a few of my one-on-one strategy calls for those who are serious about getting started today. If you want my help finding the right property in the right location, managing it correctly, and setting it up to maximize cash flow, let's talk. Spots are limited, and I am only working with serious investors who are ready to take action. If that's you, click the link below and please book a call, and I look forward to talking to you. And if you got value from this video, and I really hope you did, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. I'm dropping new videos every single week with the biggest real estate strategies that are working right now. That's right, this wasn't recorded 5 years ago, and I'm hoping you still think it's relevant. No, I'm recording these every week to make it relevant to you right now. Why? Because we are in the same fight. We're fighting for our finances, our families, our freedom, and our happiness. And we all deserve those things.